Hello and welcome back to Bricking It. So it's been about 100 days since I last posted anything, and that's because I really haven't done anything in all of that time. But I have done some things. Let's have a look at the projects I've been working on since my last video. So a little job I decided to undertake, not on purpose, it's just kind of happened by accident, was I finally covered the storage space beneath my castle. I've used these book covers, of which I have many, just to fill in the space where I hide all my bits and bobs for changing scenes. Works quite nicely, bit random at the moment, using my old Quidditch covers there. And I say my old Quidditch covers because there's been a bit of a change with my Quidditch display. But these just cover up the space quite nicely so I can store the bits and bobs inside. I think everything's going to be dark tan, the spines and the covers, just so it gives a sort of uniform appearance with the colour scheme of Hogwarts. Haven't done much in the castle really. We can have a quick flyby, see what's going on. Put some house banners up in the Great Hall. Been working on some Great Hall interiors recently. Might have a little look at some of the bits and bobs I've been doing, but largely everything is as it ever was. Got all the classrooms on display this time, the staff room. Changed my banister colour up here to a stony one. Been making some ghosts, creating some characters from the extended Harry Potter lore, such as video games and things, and Marauder's map and other interactive things. Oh, sorry, Dumbledore. But really, I'm just displaying much as I ever have. So a lot of what I've been focusing on has been up here on the bookshelf. And this is now looking pretty packed. It really shows how little space I've got left to make displays for my collection. Now I could obviously make some displays that I don't keep and I just make for video, but I've never really made just for content. I've always made specifically for my collection. So deciding what I'm going to do to fill in these last few gaps has been pretty tricky. This 4 sets of dark orange book covers just here is a new display, similar to this one with the kicked out spines, which was the last build video I posted, which was the 3 broomsticks. And I'll show you this build in my next video once I actually get a chance to make one. But a lot of what I've been doing is with these sideways volumes at the top. Now, what you probably can't tell, well, you can from that display there, is the ceiling here slants. So I've got a straight wall and then a slanted ceiling. So I really couldn't use the top bit of space. But as you can see by the shape of this unit, let's get one down. I am now making use of the upper space. Let's have a look what I'm doing. So welcome back to the unmitigated disaster that is my desk. The problem with not making videos is that I don't bother to tidy up after I've been having a play. A couple of things I've built. Got this butterbeer cart for my Hogsmeade or Diagon Alley scenes. This was, I think, a build and take at the Lego store fairly recently. But oh, I've lost the tap there. But I just got the instructions online and then parted it together from Bricklink orders. So I've got another little bit to add to my scenery. But what we were talking about was these. So simple book covers built onto a Hogwarts moment cover, as you can tell by these bars along the top. And on the other side, it's just a diagonal space, and again capped with these Hogwarts moments covers. And when I was realizing how much space I was losing, I decided that things like this, or like the previous version of this, that were just storing bits rather than showcasing displays, really needed to change. So I decided to make use of the almost dead space up the top just to store bits and pieces for other displays. So in this side at the moment, here's all the bits for the Dada office, for when I'm not displaying various teachers, and also for the Dada classroom. So you've got Lockhart bits and Moody's weird devices and the spider and things like that. So when I'm not displaying the other 4 or 5 different versions that I can do, all of those spare parts now live in here, and that will just sit up on the top using that otherwise dead space. Let's have a look what's in the others, just for fun. So the other ones, I've got a short one and another long one, mostly contain stuff for the Great Hall. This one's full of display bits for the Yule Ball when I'm showing that in the Great Hall, which won't be very long now. As you can see, I've been experimenting with drapes and other decorations that I can just place in the hall when I'm showing off the Yule Ball, but I haven't come up with a final decision on what I'm going to do with that yet. But I've got my Christmas trees and my tables in there so we can set up the room. They do need to be stored properly. I can't just randomly grab bits out. Oh, did it? Well done. And in the other longer one, again, all the parts for the Great Hall, depending which scene I'm setting up. So we can see at a glance, we've got the Halloween feast, we've got the Goblet of Fire. These pieces are to make the age line, so I can either display the hall as the students putting their entries in, or at the drawing of the ballots at the end. Got some stacked benches here for Battle of Hogwarts, or also for that when the Goblet of Fire is on display. Got my apparition rings for apparition class. My spare, oh, come on, little grey hair and wigs that I can pop on my Fred and George when they cross the age line. Of course, all my toads for my toad chorus, and various floating candles and other bits and bobs. So I can pretty much do all of the storytelling scenes. Now, you also see under here a stool, or a couple of broomsticks for when Fred and George make their grand farewell, for which I've also been making some fireworks. Oh, broken. Making fireworks to place all around the castle. Then they've got the stool for the sorting ceremony, and the sorting hat actually lives on Harry's head with my unsorted students in my minifig display. There's one other one of these space savers that I made, and this one actually is a display. So let's have a look. So this one is a big boy, and I've been running out of all of the various tiles I've been using to make my book covers. So everything's getting a bit samey, but I quite like it, and it sits on the shelf quite nicely. And on the other side, I've stored my Quidditch teams. So I've been working on upgrading my Quidditch teams over time, and I think that as of now, they have pretty much reached their final form, and I really like the way they're going. Foolishly, I balked at the cost of the what are they called, hoods on Pick-a-Brick, so I know that I actually bit the bullet and ordered the blue ones and the yellow ones, and they've now been removed. Red ones and green ones are still there, and I got them, and I'm glad that I did, but now I'm going to have to collect yellow and blue hoods from Bricklink, which is going to cost a fortune. As you can see, the Gryffindor team have got the tan trousers with the dual moulded legs in reddish brown. They obviously going for the earlier movies look. And of course, once we get to Prisoner of Azkaban, they switch to black trousers for their playing uniforms, which the Hufflepuffs are wearing, again with those dual moulded boots. Whoop. Now these black legs, I was surprised to find on Pick-a-Brick, if I'm honest, and I'm really glad that I did. See, Slytherin's got the dark as well, that suits their nature. Originally, I thought I was going to have to make these legs by buying the Wolfpack Beastmaster and rubbing off the chainmail, and I actually did that once as a little proof of concept. Luckily, they were still selling in my local shop, and with my minifig scanner, I managed to find one at retail price. but it still would have cost a fortune to create at least 2 teams worth, and I wanted at least two full teams in both sets of trousers. So, but then I was scrolling Pick-a-Bit the other day, and I found the exact legs, black with reddish brown boots, unprinted on Pick-a-Brick for a reasonable price. So I bought 2 teams worth. Unfortunately, these tan ones with the reddish brown boots aren't on Bricks and Pieces at the moment, so I'm going to have to again assemble another team's worth of those for my Ravenclaws from Bricklink orders. These are my teams, not necessarily representing any particular versions of the teams, except of course for who are you? Gryffindor. Obviously, and this is Angelina's team from the 5th movie, as we can see by Fred and George still being on the team and Ron having joined as keeper. And then the Slytherins are made up of a random bunch of previously released figures and extras. And for Hufflepuff, of course, we only have Cho as an official Hufflepuff player and Cedric. I've also got a Zachariah Smith, who's a known Hufflepuff player. And he's a bit of a... yeah, he's not the best character. Ron don't like him, so he's got his grumpy face. Curiously, it's Ron's grumpy face. But that's the nice new display that I've made for my Quidditch players. And if you remember, they used to be stored in one of those, or 2 of those book covers, the spines of which are now standing in below my castle. That's my nice new Quidditch display. So other than this, I really haven't been working on many major builds. As I said, we've got that one more to look forward to, and that should be next week's video. But most of the other jobs have been just little bits and pieces, nothing really that you can make a video out of. Maybe make some compilations in the fullness of time, and a couple more display tours like I did for my wizarding houses. But at the moment, there's nothing really in the pipeline. Hope it won't be another 100 days till I come up with something to post. But for now, that's pretty much all I've got going on. So some of the things we can look forward to are some videos about my forest displays, which are all stacked up there. They all display obviously in my forest backdrop next to Hagrid's hut and my Whomping Willow. And of course, we've got my wizarding transport video, which I promised last time, and that's coming up. We've got a few options that I've got displays of hidden in here, but I won't get them out now. Now, obviously, I don't mean the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter or the Chimera. Oh, I've never shown you this, have I? So obviously, this is a Harry Potter Lego channel, but occasionally I dabble in Star Wars. And when I saw the Ahsoka series, I thought, oh yeah, I could do the Chimera. So having always wanted to make this old MIDI style or MIDI scale Star Destroyer, and finding that I had almost all of the parts to do it, I decided to order a few more bits and knock it up. Then, of course, just replacing some of these wedges with the more recently released gold wedges that came with C-3PO. I was able to make myself a Chimera. Still have to work out what I'm doing with the iconography on the bottom. That's not really very good at all. But maybe I'll come up with something in the future. So yes, wizarding transport is what I was talking about. And that video will be coming shortly. So why the long break? What led to the break? Well, obviously, school holidays have got the kids. So I've got to focus on that. Well, to be honest, as I said, I haven't got a lot still left to build to fill up all my available space. And also got a little bit depressed when the new Death Star came out, but not for the reasons a lot of people would imagine. So most people got upset and sad that it was just a slice of display that showed a large structure with lots of scenes on display featuring from the various films it was in. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, that's because it's very similar to what I built with my Hogwarts here. Obviously, it's round and from a galaxy far, far away. and Hogwarts is a big square lump. But genuinely, it's exactly what I was going to do with my Death Star mock, which I started collecting figures for, 2-3 years ago. I've been collecting figures, bricks, and stickered parts to build almost exactly what was released by Lego. Now, that's easy for me to say, and I've got no way to prove it. There's a couple of videos where you might see some of my Star Wars figures, minifigs, that I was going to be using in the project, and you'll see that they're all from episode 4. So I was going to build myself the Death Star, but I came to the conclusion that it was essentially just going to be my Hogwarts in grey with curved edges. So I never, prioritized building it. And then the official one came out. And well, I lost all impetus. And it kind of put me on a bit of a downer for building. And it kind of made me wish that I'd mentioned it more often. Because it just sounds like I've got sour grapes now. Oh, I was going to build that, and then they released it. And that, I suppose it is, to a little certain extent. And I'm sure mine wouldn't have been up to the caliber of the one that came out, because I really like it. I think it's a really good display set. Obviously, it's not a big grey sphere. And I don't know what Star Wars fans are up in arms against, because why do you just want the outside of something? I've got to be honest. That's all we've got for Hogwarts for ages, and I can't understand it. Why do you want the outside to be prioritised? All of the stuff, all of the play opportunities, the character interactions, almost exclusively, they happen in interiors. And that's why I've always focused on interiors and never really, past the original 1999 releases, collected Lego Star Wars. Because much as I like ships, other than putting them up on a shelf, there's not a huge amount you can do with them. So anyway, barring that brief digression, yes, I haven't been around for a while. I've got one more build to show you and a few tours of the collection. And then I really don't know where the channel goes from there. Do I start taking requests and making builds just for content? I don't know. Anyway, as the channel has received its first member, it's time for me to give a member shout out. But unfortunately, I have no idea how to pronounce it. I do apologise to my new member. I don't even know what to call you, so I'll just call you Buddy. And this is the screen name. And unfortunately, I don't speak Korean, so I can't even make an attempt at it. And what Google told me it says doesn't sound entirely correct. So here is a visual shout out to my first channel member, and a big thank you very much for supporting the channel. And if anyone else would like to support the channel, membership is available, and it may even allow me to afford to buy some of the new sets coming in January, which I should probably talk about as well at some point. Anyway, that's me 100 days later. Very little has changed, but I've made some progress on the collection. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, leave us a like, drop a comment on what you've been doing for the last 100 days with your Lego collection. Tell me if there's anything you would like to see me build to put up on the channel. And for more Wizarding World mock builds, please subscribe to Bricking It. Bye bye.